Hello everyone! In this video, we are going to give you some information about the characterization analysis based on the novel The Great Gatsby. This video was made by Group 4, and here is the list of our members' name followed by our student ID numbers. Before we jump into the analysis, we will tell you a little bit about the background story. The Great Gatsby is a 1925 novel written by an American author, Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald. This story mainly focuses on the young mysterious millionaire J. Gatsby and his obsession to reunite with his ex-lover. This novel is considered to be one of the greatest novels ever written. And now, for the characterization, we're gonna start off with the protagonist / the main character of the novel, J. Gatsby. Gatsby was pictured as a rich, wealthy young man who lived a glamorous life and held a party every Saturday night in his house in West Edge. Just like the title of the book, Great, isn't it? But Gatsby is not just great. If we take a closer look at his personality, he has his good and bad traits as well. Let's begin with his good traits. Gatsby is an ambitious person. He has a clear mindset and sets his goals. It is somehow related to his family background, which described as a poor family from North Dakota, and Gatsby always had a big dream. It leads us to the next trait, which is a hard worker. He started by saving a man named Dan Cody from a storm, then ended up working for him. Cody taught him the manners of the rich. Gatsby then enlisted for the military during World War I. He briefly attended Oxford University but left after 5 months before he got into shady business such as bottling and gambling to get rich.
His life is always going up, reflecting his third trait, which is persistent. He had a commitment to his own principle, but those good traits sometimes get a bit exaggerated that turn into bad traits. His love for Daisy became obsessive. He wanted to take control over the past where Daisy and he were still together. As you can see in the quotation below, he wanted nothing less of Daisy than that she should go to Tom and say, "I never loved you." Gatsby can also be too optimistic to the point that it is naive. These quotations below are the two examples of that trait. The last one is liar. Gatsby lies all the time. He lies about his past, said that he's the son of some wealthy people in the Midwest. He faked his name, even changed it, and also lies about his present business. Next, the narrator, the god of the novel, Nick Carraway. Nick Carraway is a young man from a prominent family. Nick begins the novel by commenting on himself, stating that he continues to remember his father's advice to not judge someone easily based on this quote. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantage that you've had. Nick studied at Yale. Then he rents a small house in West Egg, and that makes him Gatsby's neighbor. In 1922, he learns the bond business in New York. Nick is also Daisy's second cousin and Tom's friend.
Unlike any other characters, Nick's personality is rather gray, so we can't really distinguish which is good or bad. It is somehow because he is the narrator and every person has their own way to interpret every sentence he wrote. The first one is judgmental. We can already see that from the first line of the novel, and the tone goes like that until the first few pages on that page. This trait can make him a little bit snobby. Despite how judgmental he is, Nick is a very observant person. He can quickly notice things about people or if something was off just by looking at their body language, the subtle change of mood, and social situation. Like in chapter 6, Nick knows that Gatsby isn't really welcome at the Sloane's house before Tom said it. Tolerant and understanding. This trait of him makes everyone can get along with him pretty well. Even Gatsby trusts him and tell him his secret and his true background story. Nick understands Gatsby's vision to reunite with Daisy, and he helped to make it come true. Lastly, he genuinely cares, and that's very sweet of him. Sure, he came to Gatsby's party out of curiosity, but at the end, which is written in chapters 8 to 9, right before Gatsby was shot, Nick spends his time with Gatsby. Nick struggles to arrange a funeral for Gatsby, which was only attended by Gatsby's father and all eyes. Now to the queen of the story, Daisy Buchanan. Daisy Buchanan is the beautiful woman from Louisville, Kentucky who lives a perfect life because she has money, beauty, and status. But what's a perfect life if her personality is the worst ever? Let's start with materialistic. She made a promise to marry Gatsby once he got back from the war and had enough money. But when he was ready to marry her, she already married Tom Buchanan, who is much more wealthy than Gatsby. Next, pessimistic. When she had just finished telling Nick about how when she gave birth to her daughter, she woke up alone. She sad about her role in the world and unhappily married to Tom. He told me it was a girl, so I turned my head away and wept. All right, I said, I'm glad it's a girl, and I hope she'll be a fool. That's the best thing a girl can be in this world, a beautiful little fool. Hypocrite. Daisy knows about the affair. As you can read, the line of the quotation below explains this trait, but in the end, she is also having an affair with Gatsby.
Greedy and indecisive. Daisy only using Gatsby for her own enjoyment. She always feels like unhappily married with Tom, but in the end, when Gatsby asks her to be with him, she can't bring herself to admit she only loved Gatsby, because she did also love Tom at the beginning of their marriage. "Oh, you want too much," she cried to Gatsby. "I love you now. Isn't that enough? I can't help what's past." She began to sob helplessly. "I did love him once, but I loved you too." Last one, selfish and careless. She makes Gatsby take the blame for killing Myrtle Wilson, even though she was driving the car, not Gatsby. Finally, rather than attend Gatsby's funeral, Daisy and Tom move away, leaving no forwarding address. As Nick put it in the novel, they were careless people, Tom and Daisy. They smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness. Next is Tom Buchanan. Tom is Daisy's wealthy husband. He lives in the old money neighborhood of East Egg in New York City. Tom Buchanan comes from a staggeringly wealthy family with long-standing social prestige. Born in Chicago, Tom moved east during his college years, where he attended Yale and met Nick Carraway at the university's social club. At Yale, Buchanan was a football star. He cheats on Daisy after their honeymoon is over with a maid named Myrtle. His personality isn't much better than his wife. Arrogant. In chapter 1, we can see Nick describe his appearance and conclude by revering Tom as cruel, not only about his physical, but also his character as well. Tom is using his money as an excuse to make himself appear taller than everyone else around him.
Like saying, just because I'm stronger and more of a man than you are, implies that his arrogance is there. Racist. In chapter 1, Tom shows his casual racism by telling about a book he recently read, The Rising Tide of Color, which uses scientific method to justify discrimination against non-white people. Well, it is a fine book and everybody ought to read it. The idea is if we don't look out, the white race will be utterly submerged. It is all scientific stuff. It's been proved. Greedy. We can already tell that Tom is greedy by deciding to cheat on Daisy just after their honeymoon. But when Daisy is ready to leave him for Gatsby, he insists his wife to stay by his side. The last one is coward. Despite his bulky appearance, Tom Buchanan is actually no more than a big coward. He encourages George Wilson to kill Gatsby and manipulate him so that George won't know that his wife is his mistress. In the end, he chooses to run away with his wife. Jordan Baker is a beautiful and compelling woman. She grew up in Louisville and she is a friend of Daisy Buchanan. She plays golf professionally and instead of getting married, she loves to date. Jordan's personality is slightly better than her best friend Daisy. Even though she still got some bad traits, she is always unexpectedly clever. Let's start off with the good ones. Jordan is quite an observant. She is wit and always keeps a keen eye in a social situation.
These quotations are two examples of Jordan's wit personality. Jordan is open to new possibilities even though she is not an optimistic type of person. Just like she said in this quotation, life starts all over again when it gets scripts at fall. And the last one is the bad trait of her, which is dishonest because she cheated in order to win her first golf tournament and continually bends the truth. And the last one, Myrtle Wilson. Myrtle is the wife of George Wilson and also a mistress of Tom Buchanan. Myrtle has been disappointed by George's lack of cash and their social status since all they got is a gas station and a small garage. Her dissatisfaction makes her cheat on his husband and has an affair with Tom Buchanan, just for the money. Myrtle is truly a gold digger and materialistic girl. We have reached the end of our video and now it's time for us to say goodbye. Thank you for watching. If you have any question, please let us know. Kindly give this video a thumbs up and some constructive critics so that we can improve and learn from our mistakes. Have a nice day and see you guys later.